to persons wishing to address the library board. Do we have a list of people? Jess Keihl is the first one.
Jess Keihl, 331 Blythe Street, number 202. The kids are all right. Over the last couple of weeks, I've made some observations, and this is my opinion and views and observations. They're not the library's. Let's not get that twisted. Over the last couple of weeks, I've made some observations after members of the public have come forth with concerns about materials we have in the library and the negative impact they are having on the youth. I told myself to be more observant, make sure the kids are not getting influenced by the evil books and evil book displays. So, over the last few weeks, I really stayed hypervigilant to make sure nobody was being indoctrinated on my watch. And here is what I saw. 1, approximately 90% of all children under the age of 12 that come into the library are coming in accompanied with a parent, guardian, or adult over the age of 18. 2, when it comes to children 5 or under coming into the library, it is nearly 100% of the time that they are accompanied by an adult. I noticed 0 children using the upstairs as anything more than a racetrack, or to work on the puzzle with their family, or to go up and down the elevator. 4, approximately 95% of older children that are coming into the library alone are typically using the computers or the outlets to charge their phones or to browse the books downstairs. Approximately 100% of all children coming into the library appear to care more about the betta fish on the counter, the prizes for the summer reading program, or the giant snake and caterpillar toys in the children's area section, than they do about any books or book displays. 6, the children can't seem to locate the book displays containing the books for their summer reading program. These displays are constantly being pointed out to them by their adults, despite being at child eye level and located right next to the children's section. This does not bode well for the little ones finding or caring about the displays located on the floor they tend to not go on. 7, a large majority of the children who are coming to the library have the attention span of a goldfish. They are not lingering or focusing on anything long enough to get influenced or groomed. 8, the only people who have seemed to notice the displays upstairs are the ones who came here precisely on June 2nd to try and see if we snuck in a pride display. They did notice, they took pictures. We also didn't sneak it in, it's not hidden. You can go upstairs and look at it, it's quite nice. It's located upstairs for its target audience to access. These same people are also didn't seem to notice the Alzheimer's Awareness Month display that is up there. They certainly didn't notice my June Dairy Month display, which was upsetting. I mean, June is dairy delicious, that's a great pun, but they don't appreciate it, that's fine. This is all to say and reiterate, the kids are all right. The library is a safe and welcoming place for everyone. It isn't a den of iniquity. Anyway, I'm not going to get fired up this time. As I'm aware, I can be extremely passionate about the library and dairy products. But for those of you who are afraid or concerned, relax. It is going to be okay. The kids are all right.
3 minutes.
They might be gay, but that's okay too.
Oestreich.
Hi again. You've seen me before. I've been here a couple times, and I'm the one who wrote that long 2-page memo that you probably had to read. So, I am living in Waupun, 535 Pleasant Avenue. Unlike some of the people who have turned up here at meetings in the past, I do actually live here and frequent the Waupun Library. I'm a card-carrying member of the Waupun Public Library. I got my first library card actually in Brandon when I was about 6 years old. And ever since then, libraries have meant books to me. And I love everything about books. I love the smell of books, the feel of books. I've always loved to read. Books opened up the world to this farm girl from out in the country here. And they have given me information and things that I would not have had otherwise. Nobody else in my family graduated from high school. So books helped propel me into a whole life of learning, and eventually to get a degree from UW-Madison. Today I'm just going to make 3 short points, okay? Point number 1. Please consider the actual viewpoint of the majority of people in this community. If you were swayed by the number of people here previously advocating that the library espouse their minority lifestyle, then I assure you we could bring a large number, a far larger number of people who object to it. And did you notice, as I did, that most of the people, particularly in earlier meeting, don't necessarily live here in Waupun or are part of this library. So if a decision-making point for you is the majority viewpoint, please realize that that position is not the majority of this particular community. Point number 2. In my opinion, libraries don't need to try to meet all the social needs of the community, especially sex education. I reiterate what I said a few months ago. Libraries aren't for sex education of any description. I believe in the history of libraries, books about sex were usually not necessarily selected for public consumption. Point number 3. People who come to this library come for the books, the films, the music on offer. And I think, as was previously demonstrated so amusingly by Jess, they don't come for the displays, especially displays advocating a particular lifestyle that's not the majority view of the community. So why insist on putting up displays of that lifestyle? So I have 2 recommendations for you to do with what you want. First of all, I'd say, please don't select books about sexual orientation. And number 2, don't have displays about it. And even if that means don't have any displays at all. Thank you.
Steinhauer.
Well, this is my first time to address you library folks, and this is what I have to share, and it's from my heart. My concern is that this library and others have become a grooming factory where young people are being indoctrinated, conditioned, and desensitized. You say you want to be inclusive and diverse in order to accommodate this postmodern culture, and you are doing a good job at it. This postmodern mindset of moral relativism must stop. Personally, I believe we have gone beyond the point of no return. What you are saying, and I trust as parents and grandparents, that it's okay to exploit your children and grandchildren. This library and you as individuals appear that you have lost any resemblance of moral clarity. Maybe it's time for you to cultivate strong convictions of doing what's right. Today you are calling evil good and good evil. Is this what you want to pass on to this generation? Our society is becoming disconnected with one another. No longer do we see children and adults as human, but rather as objects of hatred. If you are honest, our culture is steeped in moral relativism, which means there is no God, no good and evil, no right and wrong. Lies and resorting to violence is justified in achieving your outcome. It doesn't matter who gets hurt. Moral relativism is like poison. Selfishly, you say your truth is all that matters. If you don't get your way and people don't think like you do, you can't so call them names and even seek to do physical harm. The bottom line is you speak out of ignorance, psychologically manipulating the truth of God's word and not being informed accurately on the facts. It bothers you something fierce when it is shared Jesus Christ is the truth. How much longer will you gaslight those who don't agree with you? As I see it, this battle is about God's truth versus man's truth. Don't you realizing you are contributing to the decay and rot of this society? It seems we have become a nation and community that says anything goes. Sadly, many innocent children are victims of pornography, and you're contributing to that. Your ideology appears to dictate what you believe. Inside your mind, there must be rage. Is there a moral inversion transpiring in your life? And finally, there is only one worldview that makes sense. Jesus-centered biblical Christianity. The truth is Christ Jesus.
Okay, excuse me, your 3 minutes is up.
Thank you.
Forsell Gappa.
reprimanded by someone for not doing something last time I was supposed to do. And I don't even think these people are still all on the board. Janet, you, Janet, okay. And Carrie, is that you? And Brett got one, and Casey, and you, Bev Martins is, I got again. And
Carrie.
that's all I got, that's all she gave me, so sorry about that. All right. All right. The Apostle John taught that love originates with God. He wrote, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God. And whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. Anyone who does not love does not know God, because God is love." The Apostle Paul provided parameters. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Mankind's whole concept of love is rooted in God's character, for He is love. Very important to love is where Jesus announced, "If you love me, you will keep my commands." This month's homosexual pride display was masked over and over with the word love. Every love has its own story. Love is love. The greatest of these is love. However, as I just read, love does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. This means that to love people, you are not to love their sins. We should love as God loves. We should play the entire field, run all along the sidelines for the good of love, but stay within bounds, for love has boundary markers. Loving sin is not loving people. Loving a person's sin is not loving the person, but is actually hurting them. It's contrary to love. You should love your mom and dad, your sister, your friends at school, your neighbors, strangers, and even your family pet. This doesn't mean you should become romantically involved with them and begin to behave sexually. When you love someone and they're thirsty, you give them water, not poison. In the same way, it is poisonous to introduce romance with sexual behaviors into relationships outside of a man and wife. Each letter in the LGBTQ acronym represents wrongdoing. It has become the periodic table of sexual sins. It is not of God, which makes it the opposite of what a loving person should want. To love sin is upside down. Look, we all get conflicted over how to love someone near to us when that person is committed to sexual sin. And mind you, none of us are immune from such sins. But in a fallen world, we have to be willing to love them enough to disagree with them. It's for their sake. We truly hurt people when we call evil good and good evil. It is the devil's work. He delights in opposites. Opposing God is his language.
Excuse me, Forsell,
It is
it's 3
built
minutes.
into his grammar. One sentence left. There's a two for you.
Karen Nelson?
Hi, good evening. I want to begin by offering my sincere gratitude to the members of the Waupun Public Library Board. Thank you for your unwavering commitment to the principles that make public institutions truly public, especially your firm stance in upholding the constitutional separation of church and state. In times like these, when pressure mounts from loud voices demanding a narrow moral lens be used to filter information, your courage to protect intellectual freedom matters more than ever. Libraries are among the last truly democratic spaces open to all, regardless of where you live or have membership card. Reflective of the diversity of our community and grounded in professional, not religious standards. I also want to take a moment to recognize the hostility and harassment you have endured at the hands of an overzealous religious leader. The attempts to intimidate, to shame, and to politicize your service have not gone unnoticed, and yet you have held your ground, not for your own comfort, but for the rights of every resident in Waupun and the surrounding areas. That is leadership. It's not easy to stand between what is right and what is loud, but by defending our public library's integrity, you are defending every parent's right to choose what their children read, every student's right to learn freely, and every citizen's right to access information unfiltered by religious dogma. On behalf of many in this community, those who believe in liberty, in learning, and in strength of pluralism, thank you. You are not alone. I'd also like to address one comment that Mr. Gappa said. Was Jesus wants us to love people despite their sins, not their sins.
Not in their sins.
I'm sorry, this is my time.
Yeah, take
Yes.
your time. You're right.
Angie Kurst?
Hi, I'm Angie Kurst. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm from your neighboring community of Beaver Dam. I care what's happening in Waupun because I believe strongly in the separation of church and state. If the Waupun City Council or Library Board defers to religious zealots, this lack of respect for the First Amendment of the United States can spread to our community and to other areas of the state. Also, Beaver Dam is part of the monarch system, so all the books are, received by all of us, and literature is available to all of us. Mr. Gappa and his allies have called people in Waupun and adjoining communities sinners and evil. He feels he's entitled to be able to decide what everybody can read at a public library or see at a public display. He was offended when the librarian cited separation of church and state. He equated LGBTQ plus literature to books promoting the Ku Klux Klan, pedophilia, and Mein Kampf. Mr. Gappa and his friends feel they should be able to decide what God intends for all patrons of the library. Which God is he talking about? The God of many denominations of the Episcopal Church, Presbyterian Church, United Church of Christ, the Alliance of Baptist Church, Evangelical Lutheran Church of America, and many other churches affirm the LGBTQ plus community, which, by the way, is almost 10% of the population in the United States. Waupun's library director and associates are trained to choose and display books they deem appropriate based on their professional judgment. Mr. Gappa's untrained conscience should not be dictating what is in a public library. This is a slippery slope that no one in city, state, or federal government should want to slide down. This attack on our First Amendment rights should immediately be put to rest.
Peggy Sherman?
My name is Peggy Sherman, and I'm here for Beaver Dam, and I'm here out of concern for what I see are increasing attacks on public institutions and their ability to do their jobs, free of political and certain types of religious interference. Today I would like to briefly express my thoughts on public libraries. I believe a library is a public space supported by the taxpayers of its community. Taxpayers come from all walks of life. They may be gay, straight, Hispanic, black, Jewish, or white Christian nationalists. And if they all have a financial stake in the library, they should be able to find the materials matching their interests or needs. If you have a card at one of our libraries in Dodge County, you can access copies of everything from the Holy Bible to Hitler's Mein Kampf to works by some of our most celebrated gay authors, including Walt Whitman and James Baldwin. Censorship of any one of these materials should be alarming to all of us. Although I am not a practicing Christian, I would never ask a library to remove the copies of the Bible from its shelves. If you are narrow-minded and can't stand exposure to the different lifestyles and ideas found in a public library, you have the choice to use other sources of information. In a democracy, however, you should not have the right to decide for everyone else what they should read or think. To me, that is immoral.
Kelly Brown?
Hi, my name is Kelly Brown, and I'm speaking directly to certain members in the beginning here. I know many of you feel strongly about the books here in the library. You've made that clear. What's not clear is why. If you truly object to a specific book, You haven't followed the actual process laid out by the library to request a formal review, and that's your right as a citizen. But instead, you've chosen to protest, to stir outrage, to waste people's time, to speak on behalf of a community that includes people like me, without ever asking how these books have impacted us. So let me tell you, I grew up on a dairy farm in Randolph, and I lived in Waupun. I went to the Randolph Christian School, and I would have gone to CWC if my parents could have afforded it. My mom lives here currently, and she just had a knee replacement or she would be here too. I grew up conservative and Christian. I worked sunup to sundown on a farm, active in my church youth group, earned awards in 4-H and FFA, volunteered, and tried to be exactly what I was told I needed to be. But inside, I knew I was different. I am queer and trans, and I had learned early that silence was safer than truth. No one talked about people like me unless it was to shame, mock, or to condemn us. So I stayed quiet. I shrunk myself. I tried to disappear. At 5 years old, I prayed every day that the bus would hit me so I could start life over and be right. And I've spent years wanting to die because I thought the only way people would like me is if I could find peace. If I had walked into a public library, just seen one book, just one, about someone like me living full, joyful, meaningful life, I might have started to believe I could have too. And that's what representation does. That's what visibility does. It saves lives. Now, you said you find pride displays offensive. You know what I find offensive? A guy who instructs a man in Numbers 5 to force a woman to drink bitter waters to prove whether she's pregnant or not, and calls it a ritual. Or the verses in Deuteronomy and Leviticus that condone stoning people for wearing clothing, mixed materials, which many of you are, or food choices, eating pork, or the psalm that says babies should be dashed against rocks. Yet I've never once asked the Bible to be banned from public spaces because I know that freedom means we all get to learn, to grow, and to explore, to use our own critical thinking skills, and even from texts we disagree with. And I believe Jesus understood that too. He didn't tell people to stop judging people because he was judging them. He told them to stop because he wouldn't have judged them at all. He wouldn't have sinned like that. He wouldn't have demanded that they go and sin no more because he saw joy and authenticity as holiness, not rebellion or sin. He wouldn't sin like that. He said it because he didn't want them to feel shame from the other sins of judgments like many here tonight. The problem is not that queer books exist. The problem is that some people think public spaces should only reflect their beliefs. You have your own private library. You're free to stock it however you wish.
Excuse me, that's 3 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Heather Van Buren.
My name is Heather Van Buren. I live in Waupun. I'm also Christian. I'm a Christian. I've lived here for 37 years. My family is very conservative. And this just makes me extremely sad. First off, we are not here to discuss whether God exists or not. The library does not exist to try to tell you what is right or what is wrong in your beliefs. This community is representative of many people, whether or not you want to believe it. Perhaps you just do not open your eyes enough to see them, but they are there. This is not a new thing either. They've been there forever, for centuries. They are there. What is new is maybe that they are finally finding that they can come out and exist in places like libraries without judgment and without shame. All of this, though, is irregardless of the point of why libraries exist, of the point in why they have collection development policies and display policies, and why this board exists and the work that they are doing here. You can keep coming in here with your scripture, you can keep coming in here with your personal stories, and that's fine, but that is not what we're here to do. We are here to be a place to provide for everyone. And again, one of the worst things to hear is that our community is not representative of this because it's wrong. If you think that your children are not coming across gay people in their everyday life, that's probably because they're not throwing it in your face. Please realize that church and your library have two separate roles. You can support both of them. You can love both those places. They are not meant to meld as one.
Elizabeth Cook.
So my name is Elizabeth Cook. I am not a city resident. I don't live in any city. I live in the country between Randolph and Waupun. Grew up going to the Waupun Library. Still really love it. Ever since the remodel, it's been really amazing. But anyway, one of my main questions with this whole thing is, it's kind of been, people have been talking both about the queer community being, an offense against God, but also presenting the idea that books that discuss any types of sexual matters are, not something that should be, here because of appropriateness for children. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the romance section, but if you want to talk about sexually explicit materials, you should maybe check that out. It is heterosexual, so I'm sure it's fine, but maybe that should be more of a target than, just simply factual books that educate about, different sexualities and gender. And then the other one is when it comes to sexual education, I don't think that the library, again, no library needs to stock every different material. Especially because you can get books through interlibrary loan, even across the world, if y'all didn't know that, especially across the country. But appropriate sexual education is a protective factor against sexual abuse for children. If you are preventing children from, being educated on appropriate words for genitalia, what is and is not, safe behavior versus the behavior of a predator, you are setting them up for sexual abuse. And kind of third, I never thought I would see the day where Christian nationalism was openly, pushed for in my local community. And now I'm seeing that day. We're talking a lot about love. I'm more concerned about justice. I've seen the harm that Christian nationalism has done. I've grown up in that community. I don't care who all wants to have sex with who, get married to who, I'm ace. That's all beside the point for me. I'm not interested. I am concerned about not having to live according to someone else's idea of what counts as, a Christian ethic. And the imprecatory psalm with the babies being dashed against rocks is Psalm 137, if anyone is interested. But anyway, yeah, that's my time, so y'all take care now.
Okay, that's all I have on my list for people who wanted to speak. Is there anyone else change their mind or entered late? Okay, then we'll move on with meetings. Okay, old business, the display policy for the staff.
Okay, I guess we call ourselves a display policy committee? Okay, well, we did meet, there are 4 of us, and then what I put in the board packet, what's highlighted in yellow is what the committee decided to add. Correct, committee?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure. Wakefield committee. I just wanted to say I really appreciated the map too, I forget who you said it was old enough.
Years ago, in fact 15 years ago when we put it on that second floor, I found the software and I had one. But it was all, we moved collections all the time. And so I asked Hannah, one of our interns, she just graduated, she'll be going, I can't remember, like Northwestern University in Minnesota.
That sounds right.
And so she's looking at different softwares and she found that and she's like, is this what you want? Oh my gosh. Yes, so the board has to know about this, so good work.
Yeah. I didn't know if it would make it a little clearer as far as the displays. There's like a B, C, and D downstairs and then an A, B, and C upstairs. Mm-hmm. I just wondered if we should go like E, F, and G, just, I don't know. Because otherwise you're going to have to do...
1 for first floor and 2 for second floor?
Yeah, 1A and 2A,
okay.
maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Well, what would you rather have do? Just straight alphabet or 1 and 2 before?
I kind of like the 1 and the 2.
Okay.
It's like a hotel.
Yeah.
And then, if somebody is to question the display in the library, where is the form? Is that the same form as the materials form, or is there going to be a new form?
There will be a new form. I'm calling it Appendix E.
Okay.
And it would be very similar. I could take a lot of what's on the current form for an item and simply remove the word item and put it in display. And actually it kind of follows along for the most part. And I figure once this is done, then I can bring that appendix to the board next month. And that way you can see what it looks like. And that's the easy one. This is the one that it's up to the board whether you want to go with this or keep working on it. So.
Overall, I thought it was great.
Me too.
This would maybe be a good time to mention too that other form, and I think one of the speakers referred to it too, that if somebody does have an issue with items in the library, there is a form that you can complete to ask the library to review that particular item. So that is normally the procedure. It's not usually the procedure that we're just asked to, consider a whole genre of books or a whole topic. So that is probably a good thing to make people aware of too.
And actually, as part of the library policies, that the actual reconsideration policies, 1 page, and then the worksheet that they would have to take home and fill out, those are available at the circulation desk.
Good to know.
And online as well.
Yeah.
I was gonna put them on like a whole thing. I wanted to see where this went today to see, and then I was gonna, once we have it edited.
Because then I'll have, if this goes through, then I have to then add this, redo my table of contents, everything has to be
Tidy it all
adjusted.
up.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the display policy as written, or would you like to discuss?
I'll make a motion to approve.
That's great. I'll second that. Thanks, Jan.